Call the meeting to order. Ask you please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the regular town board meeting. We have approval of minutes, November 6th. Town board special meeting, November 13th. Regular meeting, the 13th, I'm sorry, the 28th of November, special town board meeting. Is there a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Move second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes. Public comment, agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak on any item? Nancy said no. Okay, the first item on the agenda, I'd like to welcome Mr. Steve Hartnett from New York State Real Property Services back to Cornwall. Steve worked closely with us on the revaluation, and it's great to have you back. Steve, we appreciate you being here.
It's good to be back, sir, and Mr. Supervisor and members of the board, thank you for just giving me a brief opportunity to speak this evening and to present the town with our Excellence in Equity Award. This award is given to towns and cities throughout the state that meet certain equity standards, and the town of Cornwall in 2017, with their assessment role of the project that they completed, certainly did meet those standards. So they're receiving that award, and by all accounts, it was a success. It was really an example of how state government, local government, town and county worked very much collaboratively together to implement a successful project. And it was a great honor to work with the town. I look forward to working with the town in the future. So not only the town board for their commitment to the project, but the assessor, Mr. Forentino, he was instrumental in the success of the project as well. You know, state law requires that all properties be assessed at a uniform percent of value, but sadly, that's not always the case. And I think the result of the 2017 reassessment ensures that property owners in the town of Cornwall are equitably assessed and paying their fair share of taxes. So it's my distinct honor to present this award to the town. I thank you very much for your efforts.
Yes, Carrie and I like to come out, since we work jointly.
It was indeed, both you gentlemen are
If I can get this without getting in your way.
so thank you, sir.
Thanks very much, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all the support that you gave the town and the project and all.
It was a real pleasure. You fellows were great to work with. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thanks
So,
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Indeed.
So now here's the question, do we get a benefit from the state firm?
We're pleased to have the help and the support of the state, really. It would help move the project along, keep it on schedule. Okay. Next, I have a resolution. We've been working on the local law, revising the local law on the utility pole and setting a public hearing. Steve, do you have anything to add? Just, we have to set it for...
No, this is the local law that Central Hudson requested in regard to the timeline for moving lines and removing double wood poles. We worked with Central Hudson to come up with drafted language for this, and we'll set a public hearing on it and see how the board wants to move forward.
Okay. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town board of the town of Cornwall has a local law before it entitled Local Law to Amend Town Code by repealing and reenacting a new chapter 139 entitled Utility Poles. Whereas the local law proposed to require the removal of double utility poles, now therefore be resolved as follows. 1, that the movement of this resolution does hereby introduce the proposed local law. 2, that a public hearing on the proposed local law be set for January 8th, 2018 at 7:05 p.m. And that due notice of the same is directed to be given by publication and posting. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, we have a couple of resolutions regarding the Phase 2, the Town of Cornwall Sewage Treatment Plant. The first one is the secret. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town board has determined to proceed with Phase 2 improvements for the Town of Cornwall Sewage Treatment Plant, whereas the town will need to borrow funds for the continuation of the project, Whereas the work is being financed by EFC, and whereas this is an action subject to seeker, now therefore be resolved as follows, that after considering all the information presented to it, including the EAF, the town board determines that it is a type 2 action under 6 NYCRR 617.5 C1 and 2, and authorizes the supervisor to execute the same. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, I have a letter and a resolution from Robert Smith for bond. This is pursuant to request I prepared the attached order calling for a public hearing to be held on January 8, 2018 for the increase and improvement of facilities of Cornwall Sewer District Number 1 pursuant to Section 202-B of the town law. Also enclosed a notice of public hearing, which appears as Exhibit A to the order, kindly arrange for publication and notice at least once in the official newspaper and arrange for posting a notice on a signboard of the town maintained pursuant to subdivision 6 of Section 30 of the town law not less than 10 days nor more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing. Also enclose the affidavit of posting for completion and execution to the town clerk. Certified copy of the order, the executed affidavit of posting, and original affidavit of publication should return to me when they're available. Best regards, very truly, Robert P. Smith. So I'll read the
All this does is set the public hearing on 202B borrowing, which is a bond anticipation note as opposed to a bond. So, I mean, if you want to read the resolution, Dick, of course, it's fine, but you might want to consider waiving it, since really all you're doing is setting a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes. Motion waived. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Discussion?
Just for the record, the public hearing will be January 8th at 7 PM. There is a typo in the resolution I noticed. If you go to the now, therefore be it, and you see it says ordered that it will be held since January 2018, 2017, right after that. So
Right.
you could just modify it to remove the 2017. I think
correct.
it'd be all set.
Okay, January 8th, 2018 at 7 o'clock PM. Okay, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. And the third item on the, with regard to the Phase 2 sewage treatment plan is resolution pertaining to consultants' agreements. Whereas the town board is continuing to make improvements to the wastewater treatment plant, requires consultations and advice in regards to obtaining funding for Phase 2 of the project. And whereas the town board has received the attached retainer agreements between the town of Cornwall and the following consultants: Russell A. Budd, McGoey Hauser and Etzel Consulting Engineers, DPC, Drake Loeb, PLLC, Munisat Services, Inc., and Hawkins Delafield and Wood, LLP, in connection with the Phase 2 improvements to the Cornwall sewage treatment plant. Now therefore be resolved as follows: 1, that the town board hereby agrees to enter into the attached agreements, and 2, that the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the same and all documents necessary to effectuate the terms therein. And we have copies of all the agreements.
Yeah.
Steve, you have anything to add to that?
No, the reason for this, Dick, is that when we go to borrow from, or get grants from the Environmental Funding Corporation, EFC, they need to see the retainer agreements for all of the consultants who are working on the project. All of these retainers are for hourly rates, and they do set caps, but it doesn't mean that that amount is gonna be expended. It's just for purposes of presenting them to EFC. All these consultants are already working for the town.
Okay. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Move second, discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Workers' compensation and insurance renewal. Councilwoman Bunt and I have been working on this. We did reach out to PERMA, who gave us a verbal quote of $445,000, which was the same quote as they previously gave us for this year. And I think, Helen, you had the proposal from Comp Alliance, which is our current carrier.
Right, the premium is $346,591, And then the assessment is 10,273, so 356
And change.
and change. So,
Okay.
and I believe that's what, 20,000?
It's about 20,000 less.
Less than last year.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons we, knock on wood, our record last year with workers' comp and this year has been much improved. And if we continue on that path, hopefully we'll see some further reduction. They go basically on a 3-year cycle, which means it's 4 years before a year drops off. And we had a couple of bad years a few years ago. So this, hopefully we're headed in the right direction.
And
Where-
I think all
oh, go
the
ahead.
safety stuff that we're doing, the meetings that you're holding and everything, I think really helps.
I think it pays well, it does, thank you, and it does. We do have an active safety committee, and we do have safety training with the employees and try to maintain safe work environments. I'll read the resolution, whereas the town of Cornwall currently is a member of the New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance, AKA Comp Alliance for Workers' Compensation Protection, whereas the town wishes to renew its membership and continue coverage with the Comp Alliance, now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby agrees to renew its membership in New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance, AKA Comp Alliance, for workers' compensation protection in accordance with the December 1, 2017 letter attached here too. The town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign any and all documents necessary to continue the present coverage. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I believe this, and also it's, what, $75,000 less than PERMA?
Correct, for the year, the estimate, yeah. Okay, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. Next item, a resolution on the senior citizen bus to the county. Whereas the town annually enters into a contract with the County of Orange for the provision of transportation services for senior citizens to Munger Cottage and related activities, and whereas the town of Cornwall has received an amendment, an extension agreement, amendment number 3, which modifies and extends the January 1, 2016 agreement for vendor services between the County of Orange and the town of Cornwall. Whereas the town wishes to enter into the attached amendment to the contract, and therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby agrees to enter into the amendment to the agreement for vendor services annexed here too and made a part of this resolution, and authorize the supervisor to execute the same. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, our attorneys have been working with New Windsor on the sewer agreements that we have for the Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District and for Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District. That's an intermunicipal agreement with New Windsor, where we have a collection system that ties into the New Windsor sewer systems. Those agreements are up for renewal, and we want to have an extension of time. We discussed it with New Windsor. The attorney spoke with the attorney with New Windsor. I spoke with the supervisor. Just to extend the time, we have proposed draft agreements that we've been working on, and this will give an opportunity to discuss those agreements further and then have them for action by the board. Steve, you have anything further on that?
I think that summarizes it pretty well. There's 180-day extension times on the right side.
Okay, whereas the town of Cornwall, town of New Windsor have entered into intermunicipal agreements under which the town of New Windsor provides sewer service to the town of Cornwall in regard to the Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District and Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District. Whereas the terms of said contracts are expiring and it's necessary and appropriate for the two towns to enter into renewed contracts or extensions thereof for the continued provision of such sewer service. And whereas the parties are in the process of negotiating and preparing renewed contracts or extensions, but it appears that the terms of the existing agreements will expire before the renewed contracts or extensions will be approved and executed. And whereas by reason of the foregoing is necessary and appropriate for the two towns to approve interim extensions of the existing agreements, and therefore it is resolved as follows, that the town board does hereby approve a 180-day extension of the existing intermunicipal agreements regarding the Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, the Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District, provided the terms thereof are subject to change in accordance with such renewed contracts or extensions as may be hereafter approved by the two towns. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, second by Kerry. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, I have a letter from the County executive, in the spring, we had applied under the Community Development Block Grant Program for funding for ADA access improvements to the ball fields. And I'm happy to report that we have a letter from the county indicating that the town has been awarded $40,000 grant to make the necessary improvements to improve the ADA access at the ball field. So it will serve not only those who need that ADA access, but also provide a paved pathway, if you will, to get from the lower level of the some of the ball fields to the upper level. And so hopefully we get the final approvals from the county. We're going to move as quickly as we can to accomplish this in the spring. So I just want to note that for the record. We'll look forward to hearing from the county. Resolution on Town Hall Consolidated Deeds. Mr. Gaba has been working to pull together the various deeds for the Town Hall property into one deed and just streamline the records. So I have a resolution whereas the Town of Cornwall currently owns several properties comprising the Town Hall Park grounds. Whereas the town wishes to combine the properties into one deed in order to streamline the required attachments when submitting grant applications, etc. Whereas the attorney has prepared a deed combining said properties, which deed is attached to this resolution, and therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby approves the attached deed and authorizes the supervisor to sign the same together with accompanying affidavits for submittal to the Orange County Clerk for recording. Town board hereby authorizes the expenditure of not more than $400 for the required Orange County recording fees. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. We have a request from Mayor Coyne. I'll read the resolution. Whereas Brendan G. Coyne, the mayor of the village of Cornwall Hudson, has requested that the town board appoint him as a marriage officer for the purpose of solemnizing a marriage between Ed Omar and Moriori on Friday, December 22nd, 2017, at the Ancient Order of Hibernians Hall in Mountainville. Whereas he is a resident of the village of Cornwall Hudson, and the marriage will be solemnized within the town of Cornwall, now therefore pursuant to the provisions of Section 11C of the Domestic Relations Law of the State of New York, the town board does hereby designate and appoint Brendan G. Coyne as marriage officer for the purpose of solemnizing the marriage between Edmar and Moriori, which said ceremony shall take place within the town of Cornwall.
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, the board has entered into an agreement with the Walden Humane Society for boarding any dogs that are picked up by the town and to house them. That agreement is in place, but they do have a clause that says that dogs cannot be dropped off at the shelter after normal business hours during the winter months because of the cold temperatures. So we discussed this, the chief has discussed it with New Windsor, and Steve has drawn up a resolution. Read the resolution. Whereas the town of Cornwall currently has a contract with the Humane Society of Walden for impoundment of dogs, whereas the Humane Society of Walden is unable to accept dogs for impoundment into an indoor facility during evening hours, whereas as a result of the aforesaid limitation of the facilities maintained by the Humane Society of Walden, the town is unable to present dogs for impoundment during evening hours in periods of cold weather. Whereas as a result of the foregoing, the town needs to secure alternative facilities for the impoundment of dogs during evening hours and periods of cold weather. Whereas the town of New Windsor has offered to accept impounded dogs from the town of Cornwall into its indoor facility during evening hours until such time as the dog may be transferred to the Humane Society of Walden. Now therefore be resolved as follows. 1, town board hereby accepts the aforesaid offer of the town of New Windsor. 2, the town board agrees to pay the town of New Windsor $50 per animal per day for such impoundments. And 3, the town board agrees to have the town of New Windsor named as an additional insured on the town's general liability policy in regard to the activity of temporary kenneling of impounded dogs. And 4, the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign any and all documents necessary for implementing said agreement with New Windsor. Is there a motion on the resolution? Second? Second, Helen. Discussion?
So a couple of questions.
Sure.
Will this be available if a dog owner wishes to pick the dog up?
Well, it's going to be just overnight. They can
Right.
pick them up the next day.
But like if the dog went in the evening and then next thing you know, the owner was located, would they still be able to pick the dog up that
I don't know if
evening?
we'd be able to retrieve the dog at that point, but then certainly the next day they would be able, so it would just be the one night. of housing the
And this will
dog.
be available that entire 16 hours outside of business hour?
Correct.
And
And this will only be during the cold,
Mhm.
the winter months.
Right.
who will take them out of?
Well, the PD will take them,
To New
and
Windsor.
actually, because it's close enough just to into Windsor, they'll be taking them, so
Okay,
we
good.
won't need any other
Yes, great.
arrangement for that. Okay, is there a motion on the resolution, or we have a motion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Motion to set the reorganization meeting and a work session for Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 o'clock PM. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Moved, second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. On appointments, Carrie and I have interviewed for a sanitation laborer. Carrie,
Yes, we're proposing that Matthew Mercury fill that position as sanitation laborer for the town.
okay, so it's a budgeted position and it's under CSEA, and to start as soon as possible. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. And on the subject of interviews, I do want to note that the town board will be meeting this Saturday, I think it's the 16th, December 16th at 10 o'clock here at Town Hall to interview applicants for the position of highway superintendent.
Should we start earlier? Because
I think you'll be all right, Carrie. I'll get you out of here.
All right,
You know, it'll be,
10 is okay.
yeah. Okay, 10 o'clock will be good with that. The only other thing is just a simple, short surplus of chairs, just so it's on the record. We had those 7 stuffed chairs in the meeting room upstairs. They're now stored in a shed. And I wanted the board to declare the chairs surplus and we'll dispose of them. If we can get a little bit of money, we
I
will.
can take them over to Lima.
Well,
I can pay you.
I mean, I can tell you that the office supply people, when I talked to them earlier this year, they said they're probably worth no more than, they're nice chairs, but out of style. So they said they're probably worth about $25 a piece.
All right, so
So-
I'll pay you for the chairs.
No problem. The
The
motion,
kids will love them.
Motion to declare.
motion to declare surplus and to authorize the sale to the Butterhill,
Yeah,
Thank you, yeah. So,
for $25 each.
and how many are there?
I believe there are 7.
7.
I've got the extra one in my office if you want that.
Well, if you still need it, if you want to keep it, that's, if
You
not,
want the $25?
it'll be another
We'll get you there.
25.
Yeah, let's give it to her. I can use it as a different chair. It's overstuffed. It's too big for there.
Is there a motion?
There was,
Yeah.
Carrie?
Made, second?
I'll second it.
You second. Further discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Do I have to
You have
abstain?
to abstain.
I have
You
to
can
Yes,
abstain.
okay. And Mr. Randazzo?
Yes.
Seven.
And I will, it's just, and Tommy was saying to me, we have to do something with those chairs, leave them in the shed for the winter, and before you know it, the rodents will be having a field day
They'll
on
have
the
a
chair.
real
Making nests in it,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So we'll try to get them out tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay.
Committee reports, Councilwoman Bunt?
Okay, so the building department reports that permits issued were 19, CCs 14, COs issued 4, on-site inspections 48, 3 complaints, 6 notice of violations, 19 fire inspections, and 12 signs were removed. Permit fees are $7,402. Fees for municipal searches, $3,900. Open planning board projects year-to-date is 1, and zoning board 2. And the seniors, the senior committee hasn't really met. A lot of them are not available right now. Betty's leaving soon to go to Florida. So, but there is a party for them Thursday. So there's a holiday party.
Right.
And I just want to mention how great it is for the Highland Engine Company to do that party they do for the seniors, and that's on Saturday.
Saturday at
We're not
noon.
doing that.
It's a really, it's a fun thing for them, they really love it.
Good.
So,
Anything further?
Nope, that's it.
Councilman Russell?
It's the first, but I have no committee reports. They were not submitted to my box, so that's the first. I normally have that, a backup email, and I have neither.
Have neither.
I'll follow up tomorrow to
All
find
right.
out where they are.
Sounds good. Okay, Councilman McGinnis?
For the highway department, monthly report, they prepped vehicles for winter maintenance, installed plows, wings, and sanders, mechanical work and repairs of trucks and equipment, installed and repaired street signs townwide, removal of leaves townwide, cleanup on Main Street, leaves, corn stalks, and bales of hay. Sweeper has been out throughout the town, and patching crews have also been out throughout the town. We blacktop patched Academy Avenue extension and the BDL area, and assisted sanitation department as needed and as always. On the comprehensive plan committee, they will be meeting January 17th at 6:30 here at Town Hall. That's all I have.
Okay, sounds good. I have,
Is the survey still open?
The survey will be open until the end of the year, throughout this month.
Oh, I should mention that.
yeah, I think we had an increase for a while. I think we're up to 242, and then over a couple of weeks, it only climbed up to 245.
Right.
So it is open, it is available for anyone
We got
wishing to
two bumps along the way,
participate.
but generally it's like 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah,
But you know what, that was really nice, thank you, Dick, for allowing, or having the highway department pick up the corn stalks and the hay bales for the chamber. That was a big effort.
no, it helped, it did
To
help
clean
clean up.
up, to get us ready for the new holiday season.
No,
So
it's
thank
good.
you.
Okay, just economic development, I have a report from Bill Brain had submitted to me. They've updated the draft design by Barden and Logitis for the Main Street area. And I think Bill has indicated they're exploring public-private partnerships with Verizon, Chamber of Commerce, Storm King Arts, and other local business for benches, flower pots, and plantings. And Barden and Logitis is putting together a list of possible funding streams and grants, if I'm not mistaken. So, do you have anything to add to that, Bill?
No, the only other initiative that we've looked into is we're gonna do sort of an assets inventory that's gonna take the form of a small book with about 100 short paragraphs about different assets that Cornwall has to offer with some photography in it. So we're gonna crowdsource the contributions to that among the committee and some other people in the town, approaching different people and asking them to research an area and provide some input into that. We'll have more on that next month to talk about.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the only thing along that same line, I do want to mention, in the past, I mentioned about the program that came out through the state and with the county with, to enhance pedestrian safety. And I've been in touch with the county, I'm following up with them now to see how we can go about putting in for funding for improvements with the crosswalks on Main Street, Willow Avenue, and any other improvements that we would want. And of course, what's nice about it is both those roads are county roads, so I'm hoping that they'll be very eager to work with us in trying to improve and enhance the pedestrian safety in those areas and all. So I hope to certainly by January have more information on that and how we go about submitting the application, identifying the areas and the improvements. And I'm sure the county will have input as well with it. But it could be a great opportunity for us to really put in for a substantial grant
And
to
hopefully
make
they
these
can put
improvements.
something that is very visible, because, especially on Willow Avenue, I don't think I've ever seen anybody stop for pedestrians.
No, the paint fades. I mean, I'm thinking more in terms of, we see, I think where the state goes into some of the communities and they put in the pavers in the crosswalks and they're identified more distinctly. I think that's really what our goal is there. And along with what we're talking about on Main Street, making the improvements, pavers and a change in the pavement to just identify that it's a pedestrian area and all. So next month I'll have more information on that. So I have warrant number 12. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Move second, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Public comment on any? Nancy?
Nancy Bryan, I have a couple of questions. Does, with the news that the Mountainville well, KJ's well is gonna be going online possibly by the end of this month, first question, do they have to notify the town that it's officially up and running?
No.
Okay, so second question, does the town have the power to shut that well down if all of a sudden homeowners in the vicinity have low water pressure or no water?
Well, honestly, Steve will jump in. There were all the stipulations and requirements that were set forth in the DEC issuing the permit for the well. And there's a provision in there that if adversely affects water supply or private wells in the area, that KJ is gonna have to help mitigate the situation, but the DEC never specified how they would go about mitigating the situation, so Steve, I guess
The
that's.
situation, Nancy, is that there's two conditions in the permit that was issued to Curious Joel. And one is that if there's adverse impacts to Woodbury Creek, that permit can be reopened. The other is if there's adverse impacts to adjoining local well owners, that Curious Joel has to remedy the situation. In either event, what would happen is that the town, and if it's local property owners, would get in touch with the DEC and give them notice that those conditions are being violated, that there's problems with it, and then you have to wait for the DEC to come in and stop the well use or to impose limitations on draw or say, they have to provide water or whatever it may be. But the town itself can't do that. The town can maybe start the process with DEC, but the town can't shut the well off.
Okay, all right, thank you. One other.
Yeah, I just want to comment too, Nancy, that, working with the other three municipalities, and, this is no secret at this point, we do have state-of-the-art monitoring equipment that is in the field at this point in time, so
Oh, that's good,
we're hoping to, to monitor that closely.
that's good. Okay, different
Sure.
topic. Any update on the state work on the 9W overpasses that everybody should be aware of?
No, I think I had the meeting with them when they came to town to tell us about it. They're hoping to finish the engineering, the design work and everything and get out to bid, I think in the spring. And if it's possible, if they'll have enough time to get work accomplished before the end of next year, they will start the project. But if not, it will begin in the spring and they hope to finish it like within a year after that.
Okay.
So, but it's gonna happen. We've been waiting 20 years for that. And as we watch the bridges crumble.
It was designed over 15 years ago.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that as well. Anyone else? Carla?
I just wanted to let everyone know that the Conservation Advisory Council's holiday party, annual holiday party and meeting went very well this past December 6th. We had about 50 people in attendance. And the students from Cornell University presented the the preliminary results of the scenic resources inventory. They're going to be making a number of edits based on comments that were provided. So it was a very fruitful and happy evening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Bill?
I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Russell and Ms. Bunt on their reelection and a clean campaign.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you in this capacity from this side of the.
Thank you, Bill. Likewise, the board looks forward to working with you, you and Carla.
And
Okay.
I echo that as well.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and happy holiday season. Thank you.